So what I'm going to cook now is a risotto Kedgeree. So it's risotto, cooked as risotto, but it's in that whole Kedgeree style, which I think's delicious. I think it's nicer than a classic Kedgeree. Splash of oil. And again about 1/8 of an onion, 1/4 of an onion. It doesn't have to be the finest of onions. And again we cook without colour. Again a medium heat. In with the rice. So we put in 160 grams of rice. Just mix that in well. Little splash of wine. Mix that in. This packet has 450 mils of stock, so I top it with about 50 mils, 100 mils of water, just to help with the cooking. Add a little bit of stock. And I've got a pan of about 10 inches by 3 inches. I understand not everyone's got a pan like this, but then use your biggest pan, as long as it's not enormous. You know, use your biggest pan with depth, and just be careful with your heat underneath, because everyone's gas stoves are different. And then what we do is a couple of cardamom seeds, some saffron. Some people put it in a bit before me. I don't mind when it really goes in, as long as it goes in at the start. Some curry powder. Again, it's to your preference, to your taste. Some people might like a little bit more curry, some people might like a little bit less. Some people might not want to put the saffron in, or they can't get saffron. So don't be dictated by every ingredient. Add stock little by little, and as the risotto cooks, it evaporates. The rice starts to release a bit of starch, and every time I add a bit of stock, it just stops the cooking that little bit. Catch it back up again, and slowly work in your stock, bit by bit. So while that's cooking, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my smoked haddock, again 200 grams. Classically, Kedgeree is with smoked haddock, but you know, salmon's very good. You could use any other whitefish, but it won't be the same, but haddock is the very best, followed by salmon. It works very well with the curried as a salmon. And we'll drop this in at the last minute of cooking, so not to overcook it. So while that's cooking, I'll add a little bit of stock. You can use chicken stock, but I'm using vegetable stock. You could use fish stock. Your preference again. Just keep it stirring. And by having the right pan, the right size pan, it does help to the end product of what you're cooking. And again, by working it, the rice is cooking evenly. And I would always recommend a spatula rather than a wooden spoon. If you look at those Italian mothers, they're always using wooden spoons. But a wooden spoon doesn't get into the corners as well as a spatula. And also, it doesn't absorb flavour. Can you imagine cooking everything with a wooden spoon? It's always forever absorbing. I don't like them. So I'm going to put in my spring onions with about 2 minutes to go. Put in my spring onions. Okay, then we'll put in the fish. So you can stir that in. You can see when the risottos cook perfectly, because if you look at the individual grains, they're translucent with that little white seed in the middle. Just that last bit of stock. And then a little bit of parmesan, as I say, 5-10 grams, just a little bit, not too much, you don't want it too cheesy. And I'd say about 2 ounces of butter. Just let that melt. So those are 2 eggs. Always add the butter and the parmesan at the end. A Kedgeree risotto shouldn't be too wet. There we are. And so by adding the parmesan and the butter at the end, it just gives it that nice richness. So we put that in the bowl. Then we just chop up the eggs. And just add the chopped egg. Again, we're talking about dinner for 2/3 for £5 in 20 minutes. And just to finish it off, some fresh coriander.